Right, all right, all right.
There it is.
What episode is this? 7?
Ooh, 8.
8?
I think.
Shit.
Yeah, man.
That's a long time, man. I know I thought last time, like, do you think people are still listening to us? And you said no. But I think we have like 7 or 8 more followers since last week. So that means somebody out there gives a shit, right?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
They're not bots, right?
You're like so nonchalantly, like maybe someone cares. Like everyone cares about what we have to say, Brandon.
I think so.
Help them with the rest of their lives.
I like that. We should use that.
Your kid's a hockey player, right?
Yeah.
Didn't he tell you this last weekend? He was gonna lay someone out on the ice, and he came through with that.
He
promise,
came through.
Didn't he?
Yeah, a couple times. Quite a few times through the weekend.
Jesus.
But, yeah.
And as a dad, you promote this violence, don't you?
It's legal.
Oh, well, if
You
it's
know.
legal. Fuck it. Okay, good. Let's go ahead and get right in.
You can pretty much apply that to anything.
That is true. I like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, as most of you know, this podcast is geared towards real estate and lending. I know sometimes
In
we get
Southern
off track.
California,
In Southern
specifically.
California,
But
yeah.
you can listen to it anywhere. We don't mind. We
Anywhere.
don't
An
discriminate.
island, a boat, who cares?
Yeah.
As long as there's a house or something to be sold or loaned on, I'd say listen to it. But nonetheless, we try to give you guys some tips, some tricks, and some interesting things we've learned along the bumpy road to help you with home ownership and home selling and loans and lending and all that good stuff. So,
Yeah.
this episode, I wanted to kind of go over, what happens with inventory in the housing market and really how it can, adversely impact or positively impact either the selling or the purchasing, portion of getting a home.
For sure. Seen a lot of transitions throughout this past year and kind of, we're at the turn of the year,
Yeah.
how that's going to change going into next year. We've kind of been able to see some very different markets just in the last couple years, like quickly. So yeah, let's dive into that.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept. So, I really kind of make it look like a simple supply and demand situation when I explain it to clients. It's very similar in that sense. It's the oldest trick in the book, supply and demand. It works in every different avenue in sales, and when you have a specific supply and you have a specific demand, you add it together, then you have chaos, right? Sometimes in a good way, sometimes in a bad way.
Yeah. Like someone's coming out on top typically. It's going
Exactly.
to favor one way or the other.
But favor generally in a big way. So, why I'm saying all this is because if you're a seller and you're in the right position and you're putting your home on the market in a seller's market, you're going to maximize your profits and your gains that you're going to make, right? If you put your home on the market as a seller during a buyer's market, you're basically shooting yourself in the foot and you're going to get the lowest gains and the lowest sale price.
Yeah.
So, that comes a lot into inventory, like I mentioned earlier. I know generally when you have a substantial amount of houses on the market, you're going to be in a buyer's market. And the reason being is there's just so much inventory to choose from. And you can be, indecisive. You can be, you can have a crazy thought process. Like, I like this one, but I don't need it. It's whatever. The color of the walls are off, et cetera, et cetera. But there's the guy next door selling his house, so let's go after that.
Yeah.
And, what I tell a lot of my clients when we're in those specific positions and I'm representing them as purchasers, I tell them, hey, let's make offers on like 10 different houses.
Yeah. I remember you talking about that the other week. And
Get them all into escrow, baby. And then
see who bites.
exactly. It's almost like fishing, And now the ball is in my court, or our court for that matter, and we can literally cancel 9 of the 10 escrows and go with the trophy property. Does it piss a lot of sellers off? Yeah. But investors do it a lot. They come in the market all cash and they write 10, 15 offers and they get 15 accepted and they cancel 14.
Yeah. I think we've seen that slow down this year with interest rates. There haven't been the same kind of rush there was the couple years prior when there were a lot of homes on the market, but there were a ton of buyers in the market also.
Yeah.
So it was still, a seller's market for a long time where people were buying houses kind of sight unseen and way over asking prices. It's still kind of going on in Southern California in certain areas. But yeah, it's pretty interesting to see the shifts that we've been through just recently.
When you get into that kind of area in the market and you start having a lot of properties on the market, you're not going to run into things like bidding wars. You're not going to run into situations where you feel typically, where you feel like, you're getting shafted as a buyer. You feel like you're not winning. I always tell my clients, like, you got to understand you've got a buyer and you've got a seller, right? And both sides want to feel like they've won in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
So when you're in those positions, it's like you're always going to feel like you're going to win because now you're writing all these offers and this, that, and the other. But like you said, sometimes it can backfire. The house can be a total, gut job. And until you get to that, home inspection, you don't know. And then it just kind of falls apart and the deal just collapses.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. And I know, it's kind of a catch-22 because the same thing happens in the seller's market. If there's not a lot of properties on the market, it's a great time to sell because now you kind of hold, that supply and demand. You are the one with the supply. And now the buyers are like, well, shoot, I've got to get a house.
You're getting multiple offers. You're getting competing offers and all that kind of stuff. So we're in the next year, now that things are, closing out 2023, going into 2024, we have all the Fed announcements recently with, holding interest rates steady. And now they're predicting cuts going forward.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen in the next year? Do you think it'll be more buyers, more seller market?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, and I get asked it a lot. And I think the biggest thing that we, as, I want to say an economy or a state, have to really think about is we need to realize we're running into an election year.
Yeah.
And anytime we're running into an election year, it's chaos. I mean, it can go one way, it can go the other way. It generally doesn't settle like, how do I phrase this? Doesn't settle like perfectly in the middle where everybody wins. One side's going to get shafted, the other side's going to win. So, we've got to be very cautious heading into 2024. I know with that being said, with the Fed, we have seen rates go down, and we've seen them basically stop and say, hey, we're not going to do any more adjustments. We're not going to do any more hikes or any more lowerings for that matter. But then they've talked about they are going to lower them as we get towards the summer.
Yeah.
So, my advice is if you're a buyer out there, stop waiting because rates have already dropped a point. And the second that they drop another point or another point and a half, which I
way more buyers, right?
You've now got sharks swimming around, because everyone's going to kind of jump back in that's sitting on the sidelines and go, shit, it's time to buy. It's time to buy. And it's like, well, yeah, but that $700,000 house is now going at $1 million.
Yeah. So you could see that. Yeah. It's going to.
Don't matter.
Yeah. And I think there's going to be huge differences in markets too.
Like
Southern California is going to be way different from the Midwest this coming year.
Correct.
And, I take a look at kind of the nationwide picture and also obviously local.
Yeah.
And there's places in the Midwest that are just falling so fast. And some of those cities that also grew during COVID.
Yeah.
Whereas here, things are still pretty stable, if not growing, value wise. And it's really an interesting kind of perspective to see just the two big varying markets.
I mean, I think also what you're going to see is, after COVID, when rates skyrocketed, almost tripled for that matter, actually did triple, we saw, like a mass exodus. Like everyone was like moving out of California. They're moving to Arizona. They're moving to Nevada. They're moving out of the country, whatever the hell it is.
They're taking their equity and buying houses all cash But
where I'm going with this is, some of those people, and I have friends, for example, that, they moved to Arizona and it's like, they liked it for a year because they saved X amount of dollars, and then the summer hit, and it's like they're like, "This is, like I can't handle."
Hey, you
this,
can
right?
scramble eggs out on the sidewalk though.
Yeah, or on a rock somewhere in the middle of the desert, because there is a desert. But
no,
I think that a lot of, I don't want to say a lot, but I think a definite amount of those individuals are going to come back to California once rates drop. They're going to basically do a flip flop and come back.
Right, yeah.
And I think that that's going to be a very strange kind of transition because, as we've spoken about in many episodes, the market is cyclical. So, them coming back at a lower rate, the rates are just going to go back up again.
Well, that's
and they're going to get pissed off again.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like what will really happen with rates in the next year?
Yeah.
Like, is the Fed really going to cut? Because it's still going to depend on inflation data, and it's still not to their target.
I mean, honestly, I feel like every episode we do is talk about rates. Like, who gives a shit about rates anymore? Okay.
Well, it has an effect. It does matter.
It has an effect.
But the other, side of that is, do the election years influence it?
They do. 100%.
Obviously,
100%.
It's going to favor the party that is in power currently.
Correct.
If it's appealing to the general consumer.
Yeah.
And it's appearing beneficial.
Well, one way I also like to phrase it kind of in layman's terms is whatever party is in power is going to basically make a last-ditch effort to get a lot of people to want to re-elect them or vote for that specific party. So how are they going to do that? They're going to lower interest rates.
They're going to sell it.
They're going to sell the hell out of it. They're going to used car salesman approach that thing, and they're just going to sell the hell out of it.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see...
If they can. I mean, obviously, the Fed's not supposed to act in any party's favor, but,
You'll see it. You'll see a lot of radical things happen, I think towards end of Q2, I think is when things are going to start to really kick off next year. And you're going to see a lot of frenzies, a lot of people that are like,
see what kind of direction we're headed in.
Yeah. Exactly. And I mean, again, like I mentioned, you're going to see people running out of state and you're going to see people coming back into the state. And you just got to kind of capture that and, you know, understand, is it the best time to buy or sell? I mean, I was looking at liquidating some of my stuff in Texas, and it's like, you know, the price that I could have got for it a year and a half ago was maybe 30 or 40 grand more than I can get right now.
Yeah.
So now I have to
Texas was a big exodus state.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But now people are, you know, like, well, you know, because their property taxes are 2% and it's this, that, and the other. So it's like, do I wait till rates drop to liquidate that and make another 30, 40 grand, or do I just get rid of it now? You know, so you're going to have a lot of people in California with that same mindset.
Do you want my advice?
Of course I want your advice.
Just kidding.
Yeah, what do you think I should do? Burn it to the ground?
No, just hold it.
Just hold it?
Just hold it.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
I know that place you're talking about. It's in a, you know, it's in an area where it's like military around, near a military base. I mean, you're always going to have renters. Yeah.
It's very flat there, too. I've never been, but it's very flat.
It's flat.
It's hot.
Yeah, Texas flat, hot. Arizona flat and hot. But there's some places in Arizona that aren't flat. Not as hot.
Jeez. So as a lender, once we start to get this ramp up of individuals looking to buy homes, do you think like the processing times for loans are going to be longer and everything's going to be kind of drawn out, or can we still close quick?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely, I think, so lending companies, mortgage companies, banks, they're already hiring. So I'm already seeing more job listings, you know, because
anticipation for what's about to happen.
Exactly, for the next year.
Hint to people out there thinking, oh, should I buy or should I
exactly. No, there's already way more hiring going on.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, like everybody was being let go. Originators, processors, underwriters, like
cyclical,
huge, big time cyclical industry. So yeah, when those openings you see more and more of, it's probably a sign that most people are assuming that rates are coming down and volume is going to pick up.
Yeah, I mean, it's if you're not in the industry, if you don't have friends in the industry, if you don't have, you know, a pulse on the industry, as you just mentioned, you really need to pay attention to whatever sector you work in and just kind of see how the job market is going. More hires, less hires. You know, what is going on? And you can use that,
trends,
as you just mentioned, as a gauge to see what's going on. And I know, you know, people are so concerned, you know, are we going to be going to war? Is the election going to affect this? It's like, it doesn't matter. As I've mentioned to you, as I mentioned to people many, many times, like if you're going to buy a house in Southern California, it will go up in value no matter what, even in 2008.
Yeah, man, as long as we don't get nuked or something, we're good.
Yeah, but I mean, even if we do got insurance, so what the hell, right? You know, so it's like, get it.
Whatever insurance companies are sticking around,
buy the house, you know. What did I say in the first episode? Date the rape, or date the rape.
Date the rate.
Date the rate. And buy the home or marry the home. Yeah. So it's like,
and buy the home. Man, you're just nailing that one. That was good.
You know, it's going to make sense 10 years into it when you're not paying rent anymore, you know, because you're actually buying down principal and you're building up equity and all the things you've talked about. So
it's a long-term investment. It's a bank. It's a place to live when you're old.
Yeah.
You know.
We can harp on it all day long, and people are just, you know, whatever. So, I mean, look at trends, you know, and look at your neighborhood. There's stuff going up for sale in your neighborhood. Just walk outside and talk to your neighbors.
Yeah.
You know, you never, half the time, like, oh, yeah, I'm selling
this. Two that are going up right around the new year, right when this turns.
There you go. And it's people, you know, that maybe they got a job raise, or maybe they changed their job, or they got divorced, or something crazy happened, and now they're looking to make a change. Or they just want to change for the new year, how everyone wants to do that.
New year, new house, yeah.
New house. Oh, smaller house, no job, whatever the hell it is. It's just funny seeing you drive around and see all these for sale signs up, and you're like, "What is going on?"
Yeah, well, that was crazy to me. I mean, because if I think back a year and a half, 2 years ago, oh my gosh, the weekends, like every single corner, you know, where we live, like 20 for sale signs out, is ridiculous. You could go on every street and there's like 2 open houses going on because sellers are just getting whatever they want. Because with those low rates, there were so many buyers. Like,
it creates just a landfall
of
just insanity and just chaos. And I know, you know, we keep harping on it. It's like, if you're gonna buy a house, buy it now, because you're gonna run into this whole fiasco.
And
you're gonna have nothing but situations. So, you know, it's just stay on top of it. Talk to your neighbors, go outside, see what people are doing, and then you can basically just kind of put a gauge on it. And you don't need, real estate agents can give you, or lenders can give you more of like an in-depth approach to it. But, I've said it many times, there's never a perfect time to buy or sell. It's really just going to be, you can try to gauge it and save a little bit of money, but at the end of the day, it's just what is your situation in life? Do you have to buy? Do you not have to buy? Do you have to sell? Do you not have to sell? And then you just do it. Otherwise, you're just kind of floating around trying to figure it out.
So consensus is, it sounds like both of us are kind of in agreement. Like, we're going to see some lower rates in the next year. We're going to see more buyers in the market. Yeah.
I think sellers should gear up for this because, if you're on the fence, we have very limited inventory right now. And I think it's because a lot of people, as we mentioned, going to a political year, they don't want to really, one, they don't want to deal with the stress of selling, and two, they don't know what's going to go on. So they just kind of want to huddle deep, stay in their house or whatever. So I think as sellers, you should start to think about, if you're looking to sell, you should start to gear up and get ready. I mean, you should start planning this Q1.
Like how to set your house apart, what you can do to really maximize
curb appeal. Price. If you got to do a new paint job, get it done now, because I think there's a lot of deals to be made with contractors and with...
Because they've been slow too, when housing slows down, all those third parties get slow. So yeah, that's a good point. Is they do, they'll be a little more willing to drop prices or do a little extra.
Oh, just stay on top of it. I mean, that's why you can't kind of let it fall apart. Like I said, if you're going to sell, just get ready because these rates, as soon as they drop, it's like literally dropping blood in the ocean. There's sharks. Everyone's in a surround.
Yeah.
Boom, 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 boom.
Just every percent is a huge chunk of buyers that can enter the market just based on their, debt to income ratios and everything. So it allows a lot more purchasers to be competing for the same properties.
And I think it'll be interesting because we've had situations where we've had a lot of international buyers come in and out of the market. And, it's good. I do this a lot. It's good to kind of look at international news that's going on around the world. Ukraine, Russia, whoever, whatever you're looking at from international standpoint, always look at those types of news articles to see if any big government or big, national thing is going to happen out there, whatever area you're looking at, because that will directly influence our housing market as well. Because I think a lot of those individuals will want either come over here, like maybe they're running from the government or something. I mean, they can legally buy it.
Yeah. No, I mean, you see all the empty big beachfront properties around here that are nothing in there.
Correct. Sometimes they're vacation rentals.
Somebody owns them.
Yeah. Exactly. So it's always good to follow international news too. I do it all the time just to see what the heck's going on. Because those guys are usually cash buyers. And they're bringing over funds from overseas.
Parking money essentially is.
They're washing money over here.
Oh, that would be a fun episode. Yeah, we can talk about that.
Oh yeah. So you've got to be aware of that, and if you are a seller and you do get yourself into a situation where you have an international buyer, make sure you're working with an experienced agent because a lot of time the proof of funds and how they're getting, I've had this situation happen with a buyer actually from China where they were bringing over money every month. I think it was like $100,000 was the max or whatever, and they hadn't been paying any taxes on it. So literally they were practicing tax evasion. Yeah. And, we went to buy a house and they're like, well, I'll put 70% down. It was like $1 million property. And I'm like, okay. And then could not get a loan for the other 30%. Which as a lender, if you're putting down, your 70% LTV, it's like that's just a no-brainer. Give them a loan all day.
Awesome, yeah.
But when you don't have,
but when the money's illegal, it's a little tough, yeah.
So a tip if you're a seller and you get an offer like that, make sure your agent knows what the heck he's doing. He's like, hey, this LLC out of China ain't freaking shake a stick at. So yeah, it's interesting. You just kind of gotta. Just pay attention. Keep your eyes open because a lot of crazy stuff's going to happen next year. Good stuff for the market. And the more you're, in touch with the pulse, the better it's going to flow. So
gear up. Get ready.
Gear up and get ready, man.
I think that's a pretty good ending to what might be our last podcast of 2023. Do
you think so? You want to do one on Christmas Day? You could serve cookies and milk.
We could. No, I'm just kidding. We'll see. But
yeah, no,
it's gonna be a fun year. It's gonna be a fun year, I think.
It is gonna be a fun year. I want to let all of our listeners know that we do have some really cool, topics coming up after the new year, and we're gonna start interviewing a few very questionable individuals that are going to give you some.
It's the only kind that we hang out with, right?
Yeah, they're going to give you some unique insights into various avenues of not really real estate, but different types of businesses, big and small.
On real estate.
They have insight into real estate, but they're not real estate agents or anything like that. We've got a few real estate agents we might interview, but I mean, maybe. I'm talking. Why do you want to talk to another version of me?
No.
That's right. There is no one.
I didn't mean other real estate agents. I just meant construction or inspector. Some different points of view that maybe would be interesting.
And also, if anyone wants to leave a comment on our YouTube thing and tell us hey, you should interview me or interview this person. Why don't you tell us? Who do you want to hear? Instead of making us think of everything. That might be ideal.
Yeah, what is it? Our show or something?
I'm just saying it could definitely help. There's probably some really cool person out there
that we'll take help. Yeah.
Wants to be, live on this massive channel with massive, massive following base. So, nonetheless.
Plus, you get to hang out with us.
That's true.
Tim over here.
Yeah. Hey, Tim. Well, thank you, everyone, for tuning back in. We hope you enjoyed ourselves. We definitely didn't. But nonetheless, it's been a good podcast.
I like that.
And we hope to see you again next year.
All right. Oh, next
Cheers.
year.
Yeah, I know.
See you guys. Wow.